Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, I hope y'all are having a great Thursday. I know I am. I had a lot going on today. I noticed my job, you guys, things are changing for me in my position, which is really interesting because um I don't know. It was busy last year, but I think I meet with way more people this year, which is very again interesting, right? Um, I remember just talking to the owner about doing things with the clients and building that client relationship more face to face. And he was like, well, people, most of our people do everything digitally. They don't really come in. But this weird and last year that was kind of true, but this year it just seems like I don't know, we're getting more clientele or something. Like I don't freaking know, but I feel like my job requires me. Someone said this the other day, right? That it require or yeah, today that it requires me to think really fast. And it's kind of true. I don't have the ability, real talk, if you're always forgetting something and that's your character, like you cannot do my job. My job is all over the place, literally, right? And when I say all over the place, I literally am the only one with this kind of job in this place. And so I'm doing face-to-face meetings. I'm getting people, getting them set up with tax. Like I'm doing all this stuff that requires me. If they call me, I gotta have that conversation because they only talk to me for the most part, unless I designate the job out. But outside of that, you guys, it's weird. And then I've been doing tax returns, and I didn't do any tax returns. I mean, I did a few last year, but not many. But I have a feeling the way things are going, I'm gonna be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I'm realizing my vitamins are very important right now because uh I didn't have any energy the day I had all them caffeines, and I did not take a vitamin. So just to put that out there. But I had a good day overall. Obviously I look good, I smell good, so I love my life. Like I don't know, those little things make me feel good inside. So yeah, that's like my day. But I wanted to talk about briefly. I want to do the America versus migrants. I did the first one, but I want to do another part, kind of part two to that, because I know that I focused on the Black diaspora, like the Black situation more in one video, but I really want to have a conversation with you guys because it's so much bigger than I think what we understand, right? And I want y'all to be clear. Just because I talk about Black issues does not mean that or speak from a Black experience that I'm oblivious to a lot of shit. Okay. And I don't necessarily treat people, let me be clear, based upon their skin color. I treat them based upon how they treat me. Or maybe not. I'm working on that. I'm kind of growing out of that a little bit, right? I'm learning how to just rise above that shit, right? But for the most part, I'm water, right? That's my sign. That is my, I'm fluid, right? So when you look in a lake, right, you see a reflection of yourself. That is me. That is what we do. I'm a Pisces. I can't help it. Okay. But I feel like the more I mature, the more I kind of get it because I don't got the time for all that, right? So I try to be respectful as much as possible, unless I feel as though the only way I'm gonna get shit done is if I gotta get a little more assertive, if that's the word, right? And I say that to say that I understand that race is not as big. Okay, in our personal experiences, especially for like Black people, maybe some brown people, our race is a big deal because I feel like the world made it a big deal, right? So we live through this guise of being black because that is how the world sees us and or treats us, right? And we cannot negate our experiences as black people, no matter how much people would like us to go away with them, right? That's just not the reality, okay? And that's not our reality. But I do understand that race is just a small piece of the picture, right? And that's just the honest to God truth, right? Race, when it comes down to what we're really dealing with, race is very minute. And I want to say the reason why we're talking about the migrant crisis, right, in this, because it's a clear example that race really don't really matter. Let me be clear. When I'm talking to, if I have some white folks listening, I want y'all to understand how blacks see poor whites is like wasted privilege. Okay. For a black person, a lot of times, unless the white person is like strung out on drugs, like really done did something with their life, it's very hard for the average black person to really, I mean, maybe not no more, but I know for myself, right? It's always been a little bit, even though I grew up in poverty with white people, I didn't really grow up in poverty, but I experienced a level of poverty for a little bit of my 20s, my 19, my 18. Like I experienced what it was to be homeless. And I was homeless with other white kids, right? But these were white kids that came from rich homes. So then it makes you ask yourself, why the fuck do you choose to be in this situation? And so I will say that I've always had a mindset. I've been more open-minded recently than not, but I do not understand a white person that does not have a level of privilege in the sense of like your middle class, your upper class. Like I guess mentally, I just don't understand it. So I know that poor whites would like to tell poor black people that, hey, I'm in the same boat as you. We're treated just the same. But again, from a black person's standpoint, it's very hard to accept that. Does that make sense? Not to say that that person is right or wrong. It's just because of our experiences. I, it's hard to, it's almost like it had to be a choice. Even though black people, some of black people's circumstance, a lot of black people's circumstance is a choice, right? But we're also dealing with things at a much bigger level than I think that the hate that black people may or may not have could ever do. Now, when you're bringing in all these other folks from all around the world, listen, we ain't, that unfortunately, um, that ain't our issue. Listen, we ain't got shit to do with what other people think. Okay. All I know is from our experiences, that's how some of us look at it. Like we just don't get it because in our minds, we can only imagine. Do you understand me? So I say that to say this. Our experiences are very much, to some degree, very much valid. Um, but it's not like if we in America were to go to war, and I'm just saying this, not saying that we are, I'm just saying if we were go to war over race, it would be silly. Okay, considering everything that we're up against. Okay, I'm trying to get my point across so we can get to the next point. So please do not stay stuck there. I just needed to say that so y'all understand the thought process. So just keep going, keep just flowing with me. Okay, now I say that because we are now in a situation with this migrant crisis. It's so funny to me how certain people are freaking out. You could tell they're freaking out, right? But because of their class level and or how they were taught to express that, they're trying to keep their shit together. But folks is really freaking out, right? Internally about what's happening. And the reason being, which I really shouldn't have to tell a lot of you, but these folks are coming in and you got to understand their country. right? And you got to understand the politics in their country, right? You got to understand the crime levels, the severity of those crimes, what those countries actually look like versus what America was, right? And I say was because we're so far removed at this point from what the American way really is. But their countries are at war. I'm not saying all of them are, but I'm just throwing these things out there. There's poverty, famine, sickness, right? Crime up the roof, right? And real crime, like crime where, like, real crime. Like, we got crime, but some of the stuff that be happening in other countries, you'll be like, what the hell? Like, it's crazy. And I'm not saying that's all the country, everybody's country. But if they're a refugee, let's say this: if they're a migrant, quote unquote, and they're running from violence and the fear of whatever they be saying on camera, um, wouldn't that mean that is a real situation? Like, I would think that if you're fleeing from your country, right? That's a big deal, right? That ain't like if what these people were really saying is true. That means whatever's going on in their country, if they fleeing at the magnitude that they're fleeing at currently, right? It's got to be detrimental. It's got to be something, right? We have to begin to ask ourselves because they're running from other people that are from their country. Do you understand this? They're running from other people who are their people, essentially, right? That's what they're saying. That's the excuse. I don't know. I believe all them because I'm not understanding how grown ass men is nothing but grown ass men. It's probably more men, 10 times more men than there are women coming overseas. They're not kids. These are men that we feel so bad for, right? I'm starting to see these migrants driving around, by the way. I'm getting a little annoyed with them on the streets because they don't know how to drive. I had one guy, the speed limit is 35. So, you could get away with a little five on over, right? Maybe five under, right? If you really had to. I don't see why people don't go the goddamn speed limit, but I understand grandmas and stuff like that. Like, they got to maybe go a little slower, right? So five under is acceptable. But this motherfucker was going like 10, 15 under the speed limit. Boy, I tell you. And they drive because they don't know how to drive. They don't know how to drive. They're going mad slow. You're on a fucking highway that's 40. I mean, it's not a highway, but it's Colfax. It's kind of like a highway. So maybe not a highway, but y'all understand what I'm saying. It's a major road, right? It's 40 miles per hour in this one particular spot. Dude is going like 25. Swear to God. Swear to God. That's how road rage happens, y'all. 25 miles per hour. My car, because I be checking my meter. Every time I have to slow down and I don't get why I got to slow down, I check my meter to see how slow I'm going. And then I always try to look forward beyond the car that's in front of me. I'm watching the car in front of me, but I want to see what's in front of you. Because if all the cars done left you and I'm still behind you, that's a problem. Especially if I came up on you and I got to slow down just to go in the left lane. Yeah, that's a problem. So I check the speedometer often because if it don't make sense, it ain't making sense. I'm gonna find a way to get around you so I can go 5 over the speed limit. Y'all hear me? So I know that people have to really understand something. It's not about caring for people. Like, I love the fact that I hear that people are leaving New York City because clearly New York City is not an easy place to live. That's not a place I would go unless I was making buku money, right? And I still probably wouldn't go to New York. It's just not for me. Okay. Um but there ain't nothing wrong with it, right? There's nothing wrong with being there. If you got the money, you can make it do what it do, right? I'm just saying. but you can tell it's set up to be uncomfortable. It's set up for only the elites and the criminals. I don't know how people are really living out there. And I don't think people really understand, very much like how I did here, is when you're living out there and you're affording those rents, Loki, you got bank. I don't know how you paying the $3,000. I was watching some of these New York City apartment shows, and I'm like, they be talking about like it's just $6,000 a month. Just that's a lot of money to be paying somebody, and I don't got a house. Unless I've got that kind of money to spend. So what it tells me is there's a lot more people who got money to spend that kind of money than we understand. Unless the goal is to price everybody out of the market, so and all these buildings just stay empty. I don't fucking know. But you got these people who are coming to the city that's already difficult to live in, it's difficult to get ahead in, and they're realizing maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we came to the wrong place. And that's cool. It's not enough of them, but that's cool, right? Now, I say this to say, you got these people coming from their country. They're running from their own fucking people, because that's really what it is. You're running from your shit. You had a girl over here that said in one of these videos I was watching, see, she said she came over here because she went to school and her friends didn't like her. The fuck? That ain't a reason to be crossing the border, bro. Like, that's not a legitimate reason, my friend. Like, even went so far to say, well, they wouldn't sit close to me. And she's going on about how they won't sit close to her. And I'm like, okay, so what the fuck is this shit? That's not an excuse to be over here, ma'am. I don't know what to tell you. That is not a migrant running from a crisis, bro. Like, that ain't that. Okay, so some people didn't like you. Well, welcome to America. You're going to see just how quickly some folks don't like you. Like, real shit. The fuck? That ain't no reason to be crossing nobody's goddamn border. But I also understand that at this point, they really are just letting all these people in. They're showing up and they're just letting them in. And I don't get it. Okay? I mean, I get it. I get what the agenda here is, but what the fuck, bro? What the fuck? And these people are talking about they would vote for Biden. Like, ugh, I don't get it. So about Biden's so nice. Under Trump, he wouldn't let us in, but Biden's so nice. Man, screw that shit. Sorry. Biden is crazy. That guy don't have no sense whatsoever. He is not, in my opinion, he need to be gone. They should have been got rid of him. Like, they should have removed him from office a long time ago. A long time ago. But again, he is going along with this agenda, and I think that is happening pretty rapidly right now. It's happening pretty quickly, like in live time. Like, it's always been happening, but it's been, little things here and there. It's like now what he did is really, really going to destroy the country, like, because they still ain't closed these motherfucking borders. You hear me? It's crazy. So race, when I say race, this is so cold. Remember when the movie The Purge, right? We're going to go back to that because it does. The Purge, when you came out with the first one, it was everybody can get it, right? Except the elites or something like that, right? Then they came out with the Purge, the first Purge, which was black people. And the Purge started in the hood, right? When I did the video the other day, I want you guys to understand something. Black people are going to be affected, and they're probably going to be affected in very large amounts across the board. That's just what it is. Now, the reason blacks are going to be affected, right, in large amounts across the board is because black people don't have much power, right? Black people, I mean, I feel like I don't know, we ain't got much going on, right? when you talk about race, we're not in the race, man. We kind of just, I don't know what black people have done, but we are not the same as our, I mean, we could be, you know, some of us are doing our own thing individually. But we ain't got no more Black Wall Streets. We ain't got people that are saying, look, I want to be doctors and scientists and lawyers. Like, that's not really like, you got some of that in some classes, more like your middle class and up, right? And the few in between. However, you're not really seeing black people build at the magnitude that our ancestors once were. Like, you know, that you're not really seeing that take place anymore. um are black people elevating to some degree in some areas? Yes, I think, right? But what elevation is for us, right? We still are behind in the race. We are far behind. And when you have these people coming in and they're able to get all these free reparations, for nobody knows why, they're able to get free cars, they're able to, like, I don't know, like, sorry, y'all. I am having a real hard time with the idea that Americans are just giving these people. It's like Americans are really just, here you go, here's my wallet. Like, I don't, and the reason why I say America, because yes, there are a lot of Americans that don't agree with this shit, but there are enough Americans that are out there helping with this shit. And that's the fucking problem right there. That's our problem, right? Americans should be closed off, cold hearted. Let them folks go figure it out on their own. I 100% agree with that. Let them go figure it out. The government ain't gonna do shit about the border. Okay, I mean, we ain't got no other option at this point because we are not our ancestors. Do you understand me? Because our ancestors would have handled this a lot differently. Okay, let's just put it that way. Okay. See, we became the country we was because we believed in any means necessary. And right now, we're corporate people. We gotta work, we gotta pay the rent, right? And I'm just saying, if we was our ancestors, all this shit would have been fixed. It would have. Like, we would have went through some shit, but there would have been folks out there making shit happen. You understand me? Nowadays, I don't know what we done become. Like, I don't know. Um, but black people are behind. We're behind in the race naturally. So when you give people who ain't never been here before, now they're able to come here, and now we helping them really get on their feet. I mean, it's gonna naturally put some black people behind, and maybe all of us, right? That's just the truth. Um, and I mean, in the sense of class, right? And understanding that certain privileges or not privileges, right, may or may not be there, stuff like that. Now, with that being said, right, there was a reason why there were many series to The Purge, right? Many reasons why, but I'm telling you, there's a reason. There's a reason, and I'm gonna tell you what one of them reasons was. Y'all, I'm using Ebonics like a mug. I can talk proper English, you guys. I just choose not to. For YouTube purposes only. Uh, but there it always, anytime you're dealing with situations at this magnitude, like the lockdowns, right, that they just had with COVID, they're really treating us like we're fucking Germany, or maybe not Germany. There's some places over there that got lockdowns. I don't know where it's at, but y'all know what I'm talking about. There's all them lockdowns over there in Europe, and the migrants over there in Europe tearing shit up, causing issues over there in Europe. um it just seems like America's fallen in the same footsteps. It's kind of strange. Um, but blacks, you're poor people, because it's still class. You're still dealing with class levels as well. Okay, that's a big thing too. You're dealing with class levels, and you're poorest of the poor of the poor. And I'm not talking about folks because eventually, even someone making 100K, in some places you already technically poor. You know what I mean? You can't even afford a house and you make 100K. Like that's kind of a problem, right? I would think. So in some areas, 100K ain't even enough. I know here in Denver, 100K ain't enough. They talking about 125 just to be able to survive out here. Now, I don't know because I live a bit below my means, right? In the sense that I don't pay that much in rent. I mean, I pay a lot. It was a lot to me just 10 years ago, but it ain't a lot now. You know what I mean? Um, so I live a little differently, but that was a choice that I made because I like doing things. I don't know what I would be able to do if I couldn't just go buy some clothes right now. Like for real. Not saying that I would, but I need money in my pocket. You understand? So I'm more of that's my priority. I need money to be able to move, to be able to use, to be able to whatever I need to do. So if that means that I gotta sacrifice living in a luxury apartment, even though I've been considering it, but I don't know yet. Um, I feel like even though that's like I just feel like y'all you got to be wise with your money in these times, right? And I think that my situation allows me to be a little bit more creative. But that's not everybody's situation. And I don't even know. Sometimes I wonder like if things were to get so bad, y'all got to understand the dollar is declining. Right. So that's part of what we're seeing too. And it's declining pretty quickly. So if you understand, in my mind, I'm like, 120K to live and to survive, that's a lot. Okay. And you got a lot of black and brown that cannot meet that level. You got a lot of people in poverty, white, black, blue, purple, that cannot meet that level. So it's going to be a lot of white people, especially as the dollar continues to decline, inflation continues to go up, right? Then you have the middle class who, because inflation increases, now the middle class is being eradicated because their bills have now increased on times 10. Okay. And so now they're striving to keep up with inflation. And the goal is, like I said, right now, while you're young, keep making money. Like I just in my mind, it's got to increase. It's got to increase. I got to be patient because I got to let it manifest, but it's got to come. You know what I mean? So in my head, as long as I keep making more money, I'll be fine. That's, but then again, the dollar ain't gonna be worth nothing. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time. But that's just how my brain works for now because money is what's pushing this whole engine, right? So you have a large amount of America, right? It hits the poor first, and now you're gonna get that middle. They're striving, they're gonna keep going until they get rid of the middle class. Whites, browns, blacks, purples, pinks, blues, they all make up that class. So when I say that race, again, it's a construct, it's an idea, it's a theory, it's a I don't want to even say a theory. Maybe that's the wrong term. But it is a construct, it's a system, right? It's a you know, it's weird. What we're seeing right now is the war between races and classism. Classes. And it's not a war in the sense that, again, you're seeing whites and blacks fight. It's the way the system is designed. And it puts blacks behind. Well, black people put themselves behind, but but the system also helped put blacks behind. Do you get what I'm saying? So blacks are behind in this race, and I believe maybe it's like your Indian people. It's some type of people that's at the top, that's at ahead of this race. But it's a construct. It was designed. You understand? It's all a design. So you have race, And then you've got this whole situation where race really don't matter because we all in the same boat. We all, if we're not in the same boat, we will be in the same boat. And the only thing that will matter is class, the wealthy and the poor. That's it. So understand that race is not, this is a clear, the migrant situation is impacting all kinds of people for many different reasons. You got folks that are, used to America being a certain way. Now they're worried about their safety, right? Which they should be, because I'm just saying, when people come from their countries at the magnitude that they're coming from people who are them, who look like them, right? And in some cases, it may be one tribe against the next tribe or whatever. But for the most part, to us Americans, I don't want to say they're all the same. That sounds so racist, but it's the truth from our perspective. Okay. Maybe you got a little bit, that may be a little bit different, that treat the other a little different, but essentially they're all from the same country in our eyes. So we have to begin to understand, for those of y'all who are saying, well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we get new people here. First of all, grown ass men. Like, since when did men want to be around men so much? These are males coming into here. They're not like, and these aren't teenage boys. These are grown ass fucking men. And you mean to tell me nobody's vetting them? Nobody's saying who, how, when, how? Like, we don't know who's coming into the country? Men who have capabilities of doing things that women, I mean, I'm just not understanding. Women and children, I don't get it. I don't get the mindset of some of these people who are like in total agreement with this shit. Outside of the migrants. Now, if I was a migrant, hell yeah, I'm taking advantage of the opportunity because it's there. The fuck? Don't offer it if it ain't meant to be. So people got to be careful about what we are wishing on, and what we're saying out of our mouths, because these aren't necessarily good people coming here. They aren't necessarily innocent people coming here that do nothing wrong, right? This is a culture. This is a way of life for some of them, a lot of them. And they're not coming over here just because I'm sorry, there is no crisis except in America right now. These people are coming here for other alternative motives that are beyond what some of y'all seem to get through to y'all's brain. Like I said, wait till Americans start denying these folks in full. Because we already are in some places in New York. I mean, they're trying, but hey, the spots fill up. Right? And it seems as though the average American is really not really reaching out to help these people. Which is good. As we should. But we need to understand that the more these people feel like they're not welcome, there's a possibility for destruction and danger because of what they do in their own countries. Like, no offense, but they're only bringing their way of life here. It ain't the other way around. These folks ain't about to try to invest in the American way. That shit's over. They bring in their culture here, their way of life here. So I just want to put it out there that race is, ultimately this is a prime example, especially for whites and blacks, right? To understand that if you're upset about this situation, then your upset, your frustration, your anger, is valid, right? It doesn't matter what race, what side you on, whatever. The fact that you're able to say, yeah, this is valid, and everybody have a different skin color, and be able to agree that this is an issue that we need addressed like right away. It tells you that this situation on a bigger level will impact a lot of people, and people know it. They feel it. They fear it. You got FBI directors coming out telling us which gang is here, right? What to be on the lookout for. Well, how unsafe this is. You got the people down in Texas summoning the president, trying to anyway. I mean, I don't know how much again, I don't know about Texan politics, but at least on national television, that's what it appears. You got National Guards trying to do everything they can, at least on national television. Because again, I'm not down in Texas. I'm not saying it's not happening. I don't see it with my own eyes. I just see it on TV, right? Who are doing everything they can to try to help this nation, try to help. So you guys have to understand it's a detriment, that what's happening is serious. It is a big deal, right? I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a few. I didn't know it was going to be this many people, and I damn sure didn't know that it was going to be a lot of them, to the point where, like I said, the average everyday citizen is still dealing with some sort of issue as a result of the money from the city going to these people. So we need to understand that, and this is a good example. I think this is a better example than poor whites, right? Saying, hey, look, we relate. We've been in jail just like you did. You know what I mean? This is more of one of those examples where it's like, for oh fuck, like we're all in this together. We ain't got a choice. This impacts all of us, even the ones that don't, for some odd reason, are in agreement with this. So it's cool to see blacks and whites, and not just black and whites, all of America, for the most part, coming together and saying, nope, this ain't gonna work. And I'm a little bit more concerned for Trump's sake. Like, I don't pray, but I am a little bit now more concerned with President Trump and how this year is going to end. I had to think about how I'm going to say that, because I don't want to say it, but I feel as though there is a hell of a lot more emphasis on him winning. Okay, as there should, because at this point we need another option. I don't know if he is the option, but I mean, again, we have to go the complete opposite way than what's in the office right now. So, I'm putting it out there, man, because this is an example where people understand, like, where if you know what you know about the circumstance, right? You know that this impacts all of us, not just one race, all of us. All of us that are below a certain AGI, okay? And this is where people need to understand that it don't really matter what your race is. You gonna get done the same way that the poor whites, the poor blacks, the poor people get done. Do you understand me? This isn't a situation anymore where, oh, I'm white, so I'm above you. Like that's not, like, I'm sorry, but a lot of y'all were never white to begin with. They just gave you that status to create further division. This is why, like I said, they're trying to eradicate the middle class. So all this racism that we have amongst one another, I mean, unless you're one of them, unless you're one of that 1%, you're gonna feel the effects of everything happening. And it just may be a little bit slower for you than the other person, but it's coming. So I think this is a better example, a prime example of, hey, look, we are all Americans. We're Americans. I mean, I don't know what, I understand the history, but this is the time where our way of life, our quality of life is at stake, it's at risk. 1000%. So that's my take on it, y'all. I'll be back with another video on this at some point. But things are really, really crazy, yo. I just keep watching all these videos because I'm like, man, I can't in my mind. It's like, dang. I remember just a few weeks ago being like, I don't run into these people. I don't see them, or a few months ago, where I was like, I don't know what people are talking about. I just think it's affecting the poor, but I am starting to see them a little bit more, which means that they're coming out of their little where hiding places or whatever, and they're starting to branch out because again, they have opportunities. People are helping them. So that's all I got to say, y'all. Hope y'all have a good night. I'm out. Peace.